do not know where this is coming from, the sound, but other vessels are experiencing the same thing. They're jamming our radio.
It's a very, very dramatic day because the Flotilla, my friends, the Greta Thunberg wonderful flotilla that has given so much entertainment to us, has been attacked apparently again by drones. And despite the fact that we all know at this point that it's probably a PR stunt, things are escalating a bit in the diplomatic arena because you see, countries like Spain, who hate Israel, can't help but jump in. And so if you have no idea what I'm talking about, let's back up a bit. So as you all know, there's this thing that some lefty people think is a great way of spending their time, okay? Because no one that I know on the right would have time to just jump onto a ship for weeks to save the people of Gaza in a fashion that everybody agrees is absolutely useless, right? So this is more of a lefty thing, I would say at this point. A bunch of lefties have decided, well, there was once upon a time a flotilla that helped and created a lot of publicity. Let's do it again, this time for the Palestinians. We're 2 years too late, but let's try. So they've gone together, a whole bunch of little boats, 35 to 50, it depends on where you read, and they've all come together in what they're calling the Somand Flotilla, I think. That's the name of it. It doesn't really matter, and you should waste any brain space remembering the actual name. So these people have gotten together, and we've got all these crazy activists. Now, all these activists, surprise, surprise, because they're lacking emotional abilities and they're all mentally a little unhinged, they're all fighting with each other. And so we know that Greta's been thrown off, and we know there's been so much drama. But last night, they declared that apparently they had been attacked once again by drones and their radio systems were down. Now, I'm not going to lie. I was deeply entertained by why their radio systems were down. And I think you're going to enjoy this too.
We don't know what it was exactly. And right now they're jamming our VHF, as you can hear. We do not know where this is coming from, the sound, but other vessels are experiencing the same thing. They're jamming our radio.
Okay, so if you didn't get the gist of what that woman was saying, because despite the fact that there's a lot of noise, she's anyway just an incoherent being because she is on this flotilla that demands of you to have minus brain cells. So she's on this flotilla, and apparently there are some people out there who, instead of just reading the headlines of, oh, this flotilla's happening, oh, what a catastrophe, they're like, you know what, let's just make the world a little bit more chaotic, and let's try and hack into the radio systems of these boats and annoy the living daylights out of them by blasting the most frustrating music we can find. And I would say, don't go chasing your is probably high up there on the songs that are really annoying. Thank you, ABBA. Happen to say, I do love ABBA. I do love myself some ABBA musical, Mamma Mia. I could watch that movie a million times over. However, I will agree that listening to that on blast whilst you're trying to get the radio every single night in the pitch black on a boat is probably really annoying. Now, this is not the first time that we've heard about something like this. A few weeks ago, we heard of an Israeli who took some sort of boat and was blasting Chalbo Dalbo, like Israeli intense music at the flotillas. And you know what, guys? I'm all for it. Creativity, wherever it is, let's go. Let's annoy these people. But to the meat of the story, last night, apparently they were not only shut down with this kind of music, but they were attacked by more drones. And whilst I'm willing to bet that it was either a PR stunt, something completely fake that they've just made up, some idiot who shot off explosives and it landed everywhere, or 3, some kind of group that is really enjoying Israel being put into complicated situations and therefore attacking the boats, i.e. the Houthis, etc. But I think that's the most far-fetched of them all. This is probably, as this entire thing has been, a PR stunt from beginning to end. However, this time, people have taken it a little bit more seriously. Okay, so let's read what our favourite man on earth, Jeremy Corbyn, has to say on the topic. I'm gravely concerned about the safety of those on board the global Somud flotilla, including in one of my own constituents. That should worry yourself. Just if you had a constituent on who could spend so much time on a boat, that shouldn't be a constituent of yours. Just an FYI, a public service announcement. Anyway, they're delivering aid to the Palestinians being starved to death by Israel. At this point, you should probably add allegedly. And if he didn't add allegedly, I mean, we should just sue him. Israel must drop its threats and smears, lift the siege, and stop the genocide now. Oh, did you know how much Jeremy Corbyn cared about the people of Palestine? Instead of caring about the people of England, he cares about the Palestinians more. But okay, that's his prerogative. Unfortunately, some people still think that man like that should be elected. Anyway, so people are freaking out. And it's gained a lot of international attention, obviously after the embarrassing sham of the last time where they announced that they'd been attacked by drones and it turned out that it was somebody who just let off a flare. So this time they had to make sure it looked really serious. And again, I am of the belief system, and it's all my theories, none of this is true, that they intentionally attacked themselves with drones, or somebody did this to them intentionally because they were so embarrassed by the fiasco last time that this time they wanted to prove that it's real. And so they've been attacked by drones, and the people of Spain, the leadership of Spain, obviously couldn't help themselves, and they said, we must save these people. Now, for some reason, the people of Spain, going back to the Inquisition, just remind you, if you don't know what the Inquisition is, look it up if you're in the mood to read a little bit about terror and murdering and real genocides. Anyway, the people of the Inquisition, Spain, they really don't like Israel. Surprise, surprise, they're just not for the Israelis. And the big part of that is because they have taken over their country. Okay, the Pislams, let's call them the Pislams. They've taken over their country. And seeing as the Pislams have taken over their country, that makes them direct enemies of Israel, as we already know. So the Spanish have decided that they're going to send like I don't know if it's their Navy SEALs, but some kind of their own military ship to protect the flotilla against the evils of Israel. The evils of Israel are coming for them. Now, why is this hilarious? Well, besides the fact that it's complicated for us diplomatically, because the IDF is going to stop a bunch of civilians who are trying to break into a military zone, which is off. You're not allowed to. Now, whilst the people of the flotilla are claiming left, right, and centre that it's illegal, you can't cause a blockade on a country, the truth is actually that you are. During a wartime, it's very known. There's a lot of resolutions about this. It's the international law, and you can look it up. It says that during a time of war, a country is allowed to put a siege around the area that they are fighting with, as long as they're not intentionally starving the people. And it has become clear, and it has been proven a million times over, that Israel is not intentionally starving anyone. They are sending in huge amounts of aid. Now, the problem with that aid, obviously, is that it's being stolen by the leadership of the Palestinians, which is a problem in and of itself within Gaza, etc. But Israel is doing everything in its power. And again, I will say this once, I'll say this twice. I do not think that we should be sending in aid. But under international law, Israel is doing everything exactly as it should, allowing all the aid in, helping to send it, using our own soldiers to do so, which means that our own soldiers' lives are dead. It's crazy. But according to international law, we are allowed to say, hey, this is a war zone. You can't come in, especially not a civilian. And we're allowed to stop people in international waters and say to them, you can't come into this area. This is a military zone. It is dangerous and you are being stupid. Anyways, so a very simple and strategic solution was proposed, which was, if these people really feel like they have all the aid to save, why don't we put it in Cyprus, which is right next to Israel, okay? By the way, Cyprus has been occupied by Turkey for many, many years, and you won't hear anyone talking about that. Just a small FYI. But why don't we put all this aid and dock the flotilla in Cyprus? You've made your PR stunt, you've told the world that you have nothing better to do and you don't have jobs. Go ahead, let's put the aid there, and Israel will distribute it, and we'll even allow for other countries to help with the distribution, if that's what you're here to do. But obviously that's not what these people want. They now want to go into Gaza, which is not going to happen because the IDF is not about to allow 35 random ships of people or boats. Sorry, I keep using the word ships instead of boats. I've seen the comments, people telling me that it's not a ship, it is a boat. I don't actually care. I don't care at all about the details of who these people are and what they're doing. I just think they're nuts. They are nuts and they need to get jobs. But thankfully, they don't get jobs because then they'd be in positions of some sort of authority. And that would be even more dangerous because these people are not mentally well. They want to go into Gaza and they are only doing it to create havoc. So now Israel has to deal with a bit of a diplomatic situation because whilst we would stop civilians and dock them somewhere and say, you can't come into the country and do all the things that we did in the last time, like telling them they have to watch the Hamas movie or putting them on a plane, which Greta didn't enjoy. Do you guys all see that footage of Greta sitting in the back of a plane because she doesn't like to fly on planes because apparently that destroys the system, whatever. Anyway, so instead of us just accepting these people, taking them away from the boats and then deporting them and giving them sandwiches and doing all the things that we did last time, now we're saying just put them somewhere else. Let's just put them somewhere else. But there's now military protection from other countries, which means are we going to get into an altercation with Spain or with whoever else decides to send ships? Are we going to do that? And this is where we leave our story today. The flotilla saga continues, and we don't know where Greta is currently located because she was thrown off the main ship, but they probably want her back now. There's this whole publicity stunt, and everybody's freaking out. Protect the people of the summoned flotilla. And whilst we all know that these people don't need any sort of protecting, and if they wanted protecting, then they shouldn't have come in the first place. You know, Simple, easy, not so complicated. That's what's going on. And so Israel's going to have to deal with a very political situation because we are still on the back end of countries like Spain recognize a Palestinian state. And so there's a lot of hullabaloo in the air. And we will watch and pray that the ABBA music continues late into the night. That these people are somewhat moved into torturous, wonderful dreams of saving the world, these delusions that only the crazy people experience. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Do the thing that you need to do to help get the word out. And let us pray. Pray for the safety of Greta from her own hands and from the hands of all the idiots that surround them on their flotilla that is here to save the world.